The glass tilted in my trembling hand, and burgundy wine cascaded over Essence's crown of twisted locks. Her birthday ruined by my rage, my shame, my unhealed heart. Then the room went silent as boots echoed behind me, and I turned to face the decorated uniform of the man who'd replaced me. The cream-colored envelope sat on my kitchen counter for 3 days before I opened it. I knew Essence's handwriting. Those elegant loops that used to spell out love notes now spelled out something far more complicated. You're invited to celebrate Essence Taylor's 28th birthday. Rooftop garden, the Meridian Hotel. 7 p.m. My hands shook as I read it. Beneath the printed text, she'd written in pen, "Marcus, I know this is weird, but I want you there. We were friends before everything else. Please come." Friends. The word tasted bitter on my tongue as I stood in my cramped studio apartment, surrounded by the wreckage of what used to be our shared life. She got the condo. I got the student loan debt and a mattress on the floor. 6 months. That's how long it had been since Essence walked out, her melanin-rich skin glowing with determination as she told me she couldn't do this anymore. Couldn't carry both of us while I found myself. I was supposed to be working on my music production business. Instead, I was working part-time at Guitar Center and spending my nights on Twitter, watching her move on in real time. That's where I first saw him. Captain Derek Holloway. His profile picture showed him in full military dress uniform, medals gleaming against his chest, his light brown eyes serious and steady. In every photo Essence posted after that, he was there, at art galleries, charity galas, her sister's wedding, places I used to stand. The worst part? She looked happier. Her smile reached her eyes again, the way it used to when we first met at Howard University, when everything felt possible and I still believed my mixtape would change the world. I shouldn't go to her birthday party. Every rational neuron in my brain screamed this truth. But pride, that toxic, stubborn pride, wouldn't let me stay away. I needed to show her I was fine. Better than fine. Thriving. I wasn't thriving. I bought a bottle of wine on the way to the party, something expensive that I couldn't afford, a Bordeaux that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. The glass felt heavy in the brown paper bag as I rode the subway uptown, rehearsing conversations I'd never have. Actually, Essence, I just signed 3 new clients. Lie. Yeah, I've been seeing someone. She's great. Lie. I'm happy for you. The biggest lie of all. What would you do if your ex invited you to meet their new partner? Drop a comment below. The Meridian Hotel rose 40 stories above the city, all glass and steel and money. The kind of place Essence always deserved, but I could never provide. I gave my name to the doorman, who checked his list with a skeptical eyebrow raise before waving me toward the elevator. The rooftop garden was already crowded when I arrived. String lights draped between potted trees, creating a canopy of warm light above 50 or 60 guests. A jazz quartet played in the corner. Waiters circulated with trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres that probably cost more per bite than my entire outfit. I spotted Essence immediately. She always commanded a room without trying. She wore a fitted emerald dress that complemented her dark brown skin, her locks swept up in an elaborate style, gold jewelry catching the light. She was laughing at something, her head thrown back in that uninhibited way she had, surrounded by friends I recognized from our college days. Then I saw him beside her. Captain Derek Holloway was taller than his photos suggested, with the kind of posture that announced military training even in civilian clothes. His navy suit was perfectly tailored, probably cost more than my car. One hand rested on the small of Essence's back with an ease that made my stomach clench. Possessive but not controlling. Comfortable. Like he belonged there. Like I used to. Marcus. Essence's voice cut through my spiral. She'd spotted me, and now she was moving through the crowd, her smile genuine but cautious. You came. Happy birthday. I managed my voice rough. Up close, I could see the subtle changes 6 months had brought. A confidence in her shoulders that hadn't been there before, laugh lines around her eyes from actual laughter instead of forced smiles. I'm glad you're here, she said, and I almost believed her. Come on, let me introduce you to Derek. The name came out harder than I intended. Yeah, I've seen the pictures. Something flickered in her eyes. Hurt, or maybe pity. Marcus, don't. Don't what? I'm here, aren't I? I thrust the wine bottle toward her, still in its paper bag. Brought you this. She took it carefully, like it might explode. Thank you. That's thoughtful. Essence, baby, everything okay? Derek had materialized beside us, his voice deep and steady. He placed a protective hand on her shoulder, and I watched her lean into him instinctively. The casual intimacy of it gutted me. Derek, this is Marcus, Essence said, her voice tight. My ex. I finished, extending my hand with a smile that felt like a grimace. The ex-boyfriend. The one who couldn't get his shit together. Derek's handshake was firm, but not aggressive. Good to meet you, man. Essence has told me a lot about you. I'm sure she has. The wine bottle sat between us on a nearby table, and I suddenly wanted it back. Wanted to leave. Wanted to rewind 6 months and be the man she needed instead of the one I was. Well, I should let you two catch up, Derek said smoothly, kissing Essence's temple. I'll be over with your sister. He nodded at me once, a dismissal disguised as courtesy, and walked away with the confidence of a man who had nothing to fear from me. Because he didn't. He seems great, I said, the words tasting like ash. Marcus, please don't do this, Essence whispered. I invited you because I wanted. I don't know what I wanted. Closure, maybe? For us to be able to exist in the same room without me feeling like a complete failure? The truth slipped out, bitter and raw. Mission not accomplished, The party continued around us, a swirl of laughter and music and clinking glasses that felt like mockery. I grabbed a champagne flute from a passing waiter and downed it in one gulp, the bubbles burning my throat. You look good, I said finally, because it was true and because the silence between us was worse than talking. Happy. I am happy, Essence said softly. Marcus, I wanted that for us. You know I did. But I couldn't. Couldn't wait for me to get my act together. Yeah, I remember the speech. Another waiter passed, and I traded my empty glass for a full one. 6 months. That's all it took for you to upgrade. That's not fair. What's not fair is that you invited me here to parade your new life in front of me. The champagne was making me bold, or stupid, or some volatile combination of both. Captain America over there with his medals, and his money in his. Stop. Essence's voice cracked like a whip. You don't get to do this. You don't get to show up and make me feel guilty for choosing myself. I'm not trying to. Yes, you are. That's exactly what you're doing. Her eyes glistened, but she blinked back tears with the same determination she'd shown the day she left. I spent 2 years carrying us, Marcus. Paying your half of the rent when your business didn't make money. Listening to you talk about your dreams while I worked 60-hour weeks. Believing in you when you stopped believing in yourself. Each word was a knife, precise and true. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but she was right. She was always right. I loved you, I said instead, my voice breaking. I still don't. She held up a hand. Please don't say it. Not here. Not now. Across the rooftop, Derek was talking to Essence's sister, Jade, his posture relaxed and open, making her laugh. Being the kind of man who fits seamlessly into her world, while I'd always felt like an imposter at family dinners, measuring my words, second-guessing my jokes. Does he know? I asked suddenly. About us. About why you left. He knows everything, Essence said. I don't hide my past from him. And he's cool with your ex showing up at your birthday party? He's confident enough not to feel threatened. The implication hung heavy between us. The jazz quartet finished their set, and someone clinked a glass for attention. Jade stepped forward with a microphone, her smile broad and genuine. All right, everybody. It's time for toasts. Who wants to embarrass my baby sister first? Laughter rippled through the crowd. Friends lined up to share stories, college memories, work anecdotes, tales of Essence's kindness and ambition and unshakable spirit. Each toast painted a picture of the woman I'd lost, the woman I'd never fully appreciated until she was gone. Then Derek took the microphone. I know I'm new to many of you, he began, his voice carrying easily across the rooftop. But I wanted to say a few words about the woman who changed my life. My jaw clenched so hard it ached. I met Essence at a veterans charity event 6 months ago, Derek continued. She was there volunteering, running the silent auction, making sure everyone felt welcome. I almost didn't talk to her. She was clearly too good for me. Polite laughter. But she smiled at me, and I knew I had to try. He turned to look at her, and even from across the rooftop, I could see the genuine emotion in his face. Essence, you are brilliant, compassionate, and strong in ways that humble me every day. You've taught me that vulnerability isn't weakness, that success means nothing without someone to share it with, and that real love means showing up every day, even when it's hard. The crowd awed. Essence wiped at her eyes, smiling through tears. I know this is just a birthday party, Derek said, his voice growing stronger. But I couldn't let tonight pass without telling you, in front of everyone who loves you, that you've made me want to be a better man. Not someday. Right now. Every day. He pulled something from his pocket. Time seemed to slow. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing, refused to accept the small velvet box he was opening, the ring catching the light like a tiny star. Essence Taylor, Derek said, dropping to one knee. Will you marry me? The rooftop erupted. Gasps and squeals, and the beginning of applause. But all I could see was Essence's face, shock melting into joy, her hands covering her mouth, tears streaming freely now as she nodded yes. Yes, yes. Derek stood, slipping the ring onto her finger as the crowd went wild. He kissed her, and she kissed him back, and I watched the door slam shut on any possibility of us ever finding our way back to each other. Something cracked inside my chest. Not my heart breaking. That had happened months ago, a slow splintering I'd learned to live with. This was different. Sharper. More final. My hand found the wine bottle I'd brought, still sitting on the nearby table where Essence had set it down. The Bordeaux. The expensive gesture meant to show I still mattered, that I could still provide something of value. What a joke. I pulled the bottle from the bag, my fingers working the corkscrew with mechanical precision. Around me, people hugged Essence and Derek, admiring the ring, offering congratulations. No one noticed me standing there, uncorking wine like it was any other celebration. Marcus. I turned. Jade stood behind me, her expression somewhere between concern and warning. Hey, why don't we get some air, she said carefully. Or maybe call you an Uber? I'm fine. I lied, pouring wine into an empty champagne flute I'd grabbed from a table. My hand shook, and burgundy liquid sloshed over the rim. You're not fine. And that's okay. But maybe this isn't the place. She invited me, I said, my voice rising. She specifically asked me to come. What did she think would happen? I don't know, Marcus. Jade's voice softened. Maybe she thought you'd moved on too. Maybe she wanted to believe you could be happy for her. Happy. The word came out like a bark of laughter. I can't even be happy for myself. The champagne flute felt inadequate. I set it down and lifted the wine bottle directly to my lips, taking a long pull. The alcohol burned, but not enough. Nothing could burn away the image of Derek on one knee, of Essence saying yes to someone else's future. Okay, that's enough. Jade reached for the bottle, but I stepped back. Don't touch me. Marcus, you're drunk. I'm not drunk enough. Across the rooftop, Essence was surrounded by well-wishers, her hand extended so friends could admire the ring. Derek stood beside her, his arm around her waist, basking in the moment he'd created. The perfect proposal at the perfect party with the perfect woman. Everything I could never give her. I started walking. No plan, no destination, just movement toward the center of the celebration. People parted around me, their conversations dying as they registered the wine bottle in my hand, the look on my face. Marcus. Essence's voice again, but different now. Wary. What are you doing? I stopped in front of her. Up close, I could see the ring. A princess-cut diamond that probably cost more than I'd make in a year. Of course it was perfect. Everything about Derek was perfect. Congratulations, I said, and my voice sounded strange, distant, like it belonged to someone else. That's really great, E. I'm happy for you. Thank you, she said carefully. Derek had moved closer, his body language protective but not aggressive. Yet, have you ever watched someone you love choose a life that doesn't include you? Tell us in the comments. I brought you wine. I continued, holding up the bottle. For your birthday. But I guess we're celebrating something bigger now, huh? Marcus. Essence started, but I was already moving. I tipped the bottle forward. Just a little. Just enough for burgundy wine to splash across the hem of her emerald dress. Time froze. Essence looked down at the spreading stain, then up at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. The rooftop had gone silent except for the muted jazz music still playing from speakers. I should have stopped there. Should have apologized, left, disappeared into the city, and never looked back. But that crack in my chest had become a chasm, and all the rage and shame and loss came pouring out. I tilted the bottle further. Wine cascaded over Essence's shoulder, soaking into her hair, running down the bodice of her dress. She gasped, stumbling backward as the cold liquid drenched her. Someone screamed. The bottle was half empty now, and I couldn't stop, couldn't do anything but watch burgundy wine ruin everything it touched. Marcus, what the fuck? Jade's voice, high and horrified. Hands grabbed me from behind. Derek's hands, strong and unforgiving. The bottle flew from my grip, shattering on the rooftop floor in an explosion of glass and wine. You need to leave, Derek said, his voice low and controlled even as he manhandled me away from Essence. Now, I looked back at her. Wine dripped from her locks onto her shoulders, her dress ruined, her makeup running. She stood frozen in shock, trembling, surrounded by friends offering napkins and concern. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me. Maybe she didn't. Maybe I didn't recognize myself. Essence, I started, but Derek's grip tightened. You don't get to talk to her, he said. You don't get to be near her. You're done. He started walking me toward the elevator, and I didn't resist. What was the point? I'd already destroyed everything. Might as well let the better man clean up my mess. The last thing I saw before the elevator doors closed was Essence, still standing in her ruined dress, Jade's arms around her shoulders, the party continuing in horrified whispers around them. The doors slid shut, and Derek released me. We stood on opposite sides of the elevator, the silence thick and damning. I could feel him looking at me, but I kept my eyes on my shoes, scuffed Jordans that Essence had bought me 2 Christmases ago. I loved her, I said finally, to the floor, to my shoes, to no one. Love isn't supposed to hurt like that, Derek replied. His voice wasn't angry anymore, just sad, disappointed. Love isn't selfish. The elevator descended, and with each floor, reality crashed back in. What had I done? What the hell had I just done? The elevator doors opened onto the hotel lobby, and Derek stepped out first, blocking my path with his body. Wait here, he commanded, then walked to the front desk. I could have run, should have run, but my legs felt like concrete, and my brain was still replaying the look on Essence's face as wine soaked through her birthday dress. Derek returned with a bottle of water and a packet of aspirin. He held them out to me. I stared at them, confused. Why are you? Take them, he said. You're going to need them. I accepted the water, my hands still shaking. Derek guided me to a leather sofa in the corner of the lobby, far from the curious stares of hotel guests. Sit. I sat. Derek remained standing, his arms crossed, studying me like I was a problem to be solved. The disappointed parent look. The I expected better look. It was worse than if he'd just hit me. I should have you arrested, he said finally. Probably should, I agreed. Assault. Public intoxication. Destruction of property. He counted on his fingers. The hotel has cameras. There are 50 witnesses. I could have you charged before you made it home. So do it. I took a long drink of water, wishing it was something stronger. I deserve it. You deserve a lot of things, Marcus. But I don't think jail is one of them. I looked up at him, surprised. Then what do you want? I want to understand. Derek sat down on the sofa across from me, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. I want to understand what makes a man throw away his dignity like that. What makes him hurt someone he claims to love? I'm drunk, I said weakly. No, you're heartbroken. There's a difference. Derek's eyes were sharp, missing nothing. I know what Essence told me about why you two ended. The part-time job, the big dreams that never materialized, her carrying both of you financially and emotionally until she couldn't anymore. That about right. I nodded, unable to speak. So you showed up tonight planning to what? Win her back? Prove something? Make her jealous? I don't know, I admitted. I couldn't stay away. And when you saw she'd moved on, when you realized she was happy without you, the words cut deep because they were true. I lost it. You did worse than lose it, Derek said. You humiliated her. On her birthday. In front of everyone she cares about. You tried to drag her down to where you are because you couldn't stand seeing her rise above it. Each word was a hammer blow, demolishing the last of my defenses. I know, I whispered. God, I know. Derek was quiet for a long moment, watching me. Then he said something I didn't expect. I've been where you are. I looked up. Not exactly the same, he continued, but close enough. 3 years ago, I came back from my second deployment in Afghanistan. Everything was supposed to be fine. I'd served my country, done my duty, come home to my fiancée. Except I wasn't fine. He paused, choosing his words carefully. PTSD is real, man. I was angry all the time, jumping at every loud noise, pushing away everyone who tried to help. My fiancée stood by me for a while, but eventually, she couldn't. She left, and I blamed her. Blamed her for not being strong enough to save me from myself. What happened? I asked. I hit rock bottom. Lost my rank temporarily. Almost lost my career. Definitely lost my self-respect. Derek's jaw tightened at the memory. But I had a commanding officer who refused to give up on me. He got me into therapy, got me into a veterans support group, made me face the fact that I was the problem. Not her. Not the army. Me. And that worked. It saved my life, Derek said simply. I learned that you can't love someone else until you love yourself. Can't be a partner until you're whole on your own. That the people we love don't owe us anything except honesty, and sometimes the most loving thing they can do is walk away. I felt tears burning behind my eyes. I don't know how to be whole. Nobody does at first. That's why we get help. Derek pulled out his phone, typed something, then showed me the screen. That's my therapist's number. Dr. Michelle Bryant. She specializes in trauma and relationships. I'm texting you her contact info right now. You will call her Monday morning. I can't afford. She has a sliding scale. You'll figure it out. He stood up. But here's the deal, Marcus. You're going to call her. You're going to get your shit together. And you're going to write Essence a letter apologizing for tonight. Not asking for forgiveness. Not explaining yourself. Just acknowledging what you did and taking responsibility. You'll send it through me, and I'll decide if she ever sees it. Why are you helping me? The question came out raw. Derek looked at me for a long moment. Because Essence loved you once. That means something. It means you're capable of being better than what I saw tonight. And because I know what it's like to hate yourself so much you destroy everything good around you. He held out his hand. But this is your one chance, man. You pull something like tonight again, and I won't be so understanding. We clear. I took his hand, his grip firm and grounding. Clear. Good. He released my hand and started toward the elevator, then paused. And Marcus? Stop checking her social media. Stop comparing your life to hers. Focus on becoming someone you can respect. The rest will follow. The elevator doors closed, and I was alone in the lobby with a bottle of water, a stranger's therapist's number, and the crushing weight of my own actions. 3 months later, Dr. Bryant's office smelled like lavender and patience. Every Monday at 10 a.m., I sat in the same worn leather chair and tried to unpack the mess I'd made of my life. Let's talk about the shame spiral, Dr. Bryant said during our 12th session. She was a black woman in her 50s with silver-streaked locks and the kind eyes of someone who'd heard every version of human pain and still chose compassion. The what? Shame spiral. It's what happens when someone does something they regret. Then instead of addressing it, they feel so ashamed that they avoid dealing with it, which makes them feel more ashamed, which makes them avoid it more. Sound familiar? I thought about the weeks after the party. The drinking. The deleted social media accounts because I couldn't handle seeing the fallout. The ignored calls from old friends who'd witnessed my meltdown. Yeah, I admitted. That sounds about right. Shame says, I am bad, Dr. Bryant continued. Guilt says I did something bad. One is about your identity. One is about your actions. Which one are you feeling? I sat with the question. Both. Fair. But here's the thing about shame. It's a liar. It tells you that what you did defines who you are. That you can't change. That you don't deserve forgiveness or growth. She leaned forward. But you've been coming here every week for 3 months. You got a second job to pay for these sessions. You stopped drinking. You wrote that letter to Essence. Those aren't the actions of someone who's irredeemably bad. Those are the actions of someone who's trying. Trying isn't the same as succeeding. No, but it's the only path that leads there. She smiled. How's the music business coming? That was another thing I'd started working on in therapy. Actually building my production business instead of just talking about it. I'd taken a free online course in business management, created a real website, started reaching out to local artists with realistic pricing. I landed 2 clients last week, I said, and couldn't help the small smile that came with it. Nothing huge. A podcast intro and background music for a YouTube channel. But it's real work. Paid work. That's excellent, Marcus. How does it feel? Scary, I admitted. Like I might actually succeed this time, and I don't know how to handle that. We'll work on that, Dr. Bryant said. But for now, let's focus on the fact that you're building something real. Not for Essence. Not to prove anything to Derek or your friends or anyone else. For you. That night, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Derek. Essence read your letter. She asked me to tell you that she forgives you, but she needs you to respect her boundaries. That means no contact, no showing up places she might be, no using mutual friends to get information about her life. Can you do that? I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ask if she'd said anything else, if there was any hope for us, if she ever thought about the good times instead of just the bad. But that was the old Marcus, the one who made everything about his needs instead of hers. I typed back, yes, I can do that. And Derek? Thank you. For everything. His response came a minute later. Be well, man. Simple. Clean. Final. I set my phone down and looked around my studio apartment. It was still small, still humble, but it was cleaner now. Organized. The bed was off the floor. There were plants on the windowsill that I actually remembered to water. My production equipment had a proper desk instead of being scattered across the floor. Small changes. But changes. 6 months later. Marcus' phone. My roommate. Yes, I had a roommate now, splitting a 2-bedroom in a better neighborhood. Tossed me my cell. I was in the middle of mixing a track for a local artist who was paying me actual money. The business had grown slowly but steadily. I'd hired a part-time assistant. I was making enough to cut back my hours at Guitar Center. The number was unknown, but I answered anyway. Hello. Marcus? Hey, it's Trevor. Trevor was one of my clients from Howard, someone I hadn't talked to since graduation. Listen, I'm planning my wedding, and I need someone to handle the music. DJ, ceremony, reception, the whole thing. I saw your work online, and man, it's good. You available in August? A wedding gig. Real money. Exactly the kind of job I'd been working toward. Yeah, I said, trying to keep the excitement out of my voice. Yeah, I'm available. Let's set up a meeting to discuss what you're looking for. After I hung up, I sat in my chair for a moment, letting the reality sink in. This was happening. My business was actually happening. I texted Dr. Bryant. Just booked a wedding. Remember when I said I couldn't see a future for myself? I think I'm starting to see one. Her response, proud of you. Same time next week. Wouldn't miss it. 1 year later. I wasn't supposed to be at the Veterans Charity Gala. It was a last-minute thing. One of my clients was performing and asked me to handle the sound setup. I agreed, not thinking about who might be there. But of course she was there. Of course. Essence stood near the silent auction table, wearing a navy dress that made her glow. Her locks were longer now, styled in a way I'd never seen. The diamond on her left hand caught the light as she pointed at something on a tablet another volunteer was holding. And beside her, wearing his dress uniform, stood Derek. My first instinct was to leave, to pack up my equipment and find an excuse to disappear. But then I remembered what Dr. Bryant always said. Avoidance is just fear in a different costume. I finished setting up the sound system, checked the levels, and made sure everything was perfect for the performance. Professional. Reliable. The man I'd promised myself I'd become. Marcus. I turned. Essence stood a few feet away, her expression careful but not cold. Hey, I managed. I'm doing sound for one of the performers tonight. I didn't know you'd be here. It's okay, she said. I figured we'd run into each other eventually. It's a small enough community. We stood in awkward silence for a moment. Then she said, Derek told me you've been doing well. Your business is growing. It is, yeah? Slow but steady. I gestured around the venue. Gigs like this help. That's good. I'm glad. She paused. I read your letter. All of them, actually. Derek gave me the first one after 3 months, then told me you'd sent 2 more. I didn't know if you'd want to read them, I said. But my therapist suggested I write them anyway. For me, not for you. To process everything. They helped, Essence said softly. Understanding where you were, mentally, that night. It didn't excuse what you did, but it helped me let go of the anger. I'm sorry, E. I know I said it in the letters, but I need to say it to your face. I'm so sorry for what I did. I know you are. She smiled, and it reached her eyes. You look different. Lighter somehow. Therapy will do that, I said, managing a smile back. Turns out actually dealing with your issues instead of drowning them in wine and self-pity is pretty effective. She laughed, really laughed, and for a moment, it felt like we were 20 again, before everything got complicated. Marcus, my client called from across the room. We need to do a sound check. Be right there. I turned back to Essence. I should. Yeah, of course. Go. She started to walk away, then paused. Marcus? I'm proud of you. For doing the work. For becoming someone you can respect. I'm proud of you too, I said. For choosing yourself. For being happy. You deserve all of it. Essence smiled once more, then headed back to Derek, who'd been watching from a respectful distance. He caught my eye and nodded. Not aggressive, not possessive, just acknowledgement. Man to man. We both loved her. One of us got to keep her. And somehow, finally, that was okay. What do you think true healing looks like after you've hurt someone you love? Share your thoughts in the comments. The performance went flawlessly. My client killed it, and 3 people asked for my business card afterward. Potential clients. Potential growth. As I packed up my equipment, I caught one last glimpse of Essence and Derek dancing to the live band's final song. She had her head on his shoulder, swaying gently, completely at peace. I felt a pang, not of jealousy or regret, but of gratitude. Gratitude that she'd loved me once, even though I hadn't deserved it. Gratitude that she'd had the strength to leave when I couldn't be the partner she needed. Gratitude that her walking away had forced me to finally face myself. My phone buzzed. A text from Trevor, the client whose wedding I'd done in August. Dude, 3 of my friends from the wedding want to hire you for their events. Can you handle that much business? I looked at the message, then at Essence and Derek across the room, then at the equipment I'd invested in with money I'd actually earned. Yeah, I texted back. I can handle it. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, I believed it. I wasn't the man who'd poured wine on his ex-girlfriend at her birthday party anymore. I wasn't the man who'd let his dreams stay dreams while the woman he loved carried both their weights. I wasn't the man who'd let shame and fear dictate his actions. I was the man who'd hit rock bottom and clawed his way back up. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more of stories like this. See you next time.